Ladies and gentlemen, I know I told some of y'all this, but it's been a long time since I spoke on it. I turned off mainstream news back in 2017, and I just do not sit in front of a TV to watch news. Not anymore. Even my local news, I'll just go to the local news website. I'll read the articles, I'll watch some of the videos that are out there. And that's how I keep up with local news. But I don't sit in front of the TV to watch local news. I haven't done that in ages. So when I saw this Pew Research report that came out, and it says that more users are getting news directly from TikTok than watching mainstream news. Mainstream news just can't beat out social media. They can't. First of all, Americanized news is terrible. You don't even get a fraction of what you should know when you watch the news in America. That's why, with the wars that are going on, anytime I just want to see what's going on, I always go to a foreign site and I will watch it from there because you get so much more information than you would American news. And American news also plays that propaganda game. If you remember when Ukraine broke out, what did they do? Oh, they're beating Russia. Oh, they're beating Russia. And then come to find out they weren't winning at all. And plus, they weren't winning because every time you saw Zelensky, he's somewhere off begging, and I told y'all before, winners never beg. Okay. The ones that beg are your people that are losing. And every time he was in front of that camera, he was begging for aid. He was begging for military equipment, money. He was doing that. I said, that's not what a winner does. I know what a winner does, and I know what a loser does. And that's not a winner. And it got to the point where they finally had to admit they weren't winning. That's one of many examples of why I will not watch mainstream news, and I don't like all the negative news they try to put out about the black community, but anything about white people is always positive. Nah. You might have ran that scam on me for a limited amount of time. You can't run that on me now. I'm fully aware of the things that you're doing and the propaganda games and the head games and the manipulation that this country does through news. And it's been weaponized through mainstream news for a long time, and that's why I won't watch it. And when you stop watching it and relying on TV for everything, you feel so liberated. And the reason why you feel liberated because you can pick and choose the news you want to listen to, and all the other stuff, you can completely exclude that altogether. you know? And that's why I like social media a lot better. I can pick and choose the subject matter I want to watch or any latest on something that I have an interest in. I can just go to social media where mainstream news may not even they may not even be talking about even a fraction of what I want to hear. And plus, that news is not geared towards the Black community. It's not geared towards us at all. And it never has been the entire time. So let's get into this story. And I'm not surprised to hear this. More Americans are getting news on TikTok, bucking the trend seen on most other social media sites. A small but growing share of US adults say they regularly get news on TikTok. This is in contrast with many social media sites where news consumption has either declined or stayed about the same in recent years. And, another thing, these news personalities, because they're not really journalists, they're just personalities reading the news, they all sound the same. If you watch mainstream news, they all sound the same. And that's another thing I don't like. I don't know why everybody got to sound the same. Everybody is reading from the same script. It doesn't matter what channel that you go to, you're virtually listening to the same script. And I don't like that. That's another thing I don't like when watching mainstream news. And that's never going to change here in the US. It's never going to change, y'all. They're going to always do news in a certain manner, and it's boring, quite frankly. To me, it's more entertaining and it's more engaging when people are allowed to bring out their own personalities along with the news. But when you got everybody sounding so robotic in front of the cameras and looking in front of the camera the same way, and they are reading the script in the same way, it's boring. It's boring. Mainstream news, you're boring. So, in just 3 years, the share of US adults who say they watch their news from TikTok, it has more than quadrupled from 3% just in 2020 to 14% in 2023. TikTok, primarily known for short form video sharing, has become especially popular among teens, two-thirds of whom report ever using the platform, as well as young adults. That's why they want TikTok gone. That's why they want it gone. Yeah, and another thing, a lot of people are gravitating towards TikTok. So, among adults, those ages 18 to 29 are mostly to say they just get their news. And about a third of Americans, which is 32%, say they get their news there, or a higher share in the recent years. This compares to 15% of those between the ages of 30 to 49, 7% of those between 50 and 64, and 3% of those 65 and older. More TikTok US adult users are getting news there as well. Currently, 43% of TikTok users say they get news on the site, up from 33% who said the same in 2022. TikTok users are now just likely to get news from TikTok as Facebook users are to get news from Facebook. Still, TikTok users are less likely than others, users of X, formerly known as Twitter, to get news on the site. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the chart, TikTok is really growing rapidly as far as the news out there. So, y'all, just let me know, do you get your news from TikTok? No, I get mine from a variety of different platforms. I don't stay in one place to get my news. I will go around to sometimes different social medias, or sometimes different news channels or websites out there to get my news. Mainstream news, you got more well-known personalities out there. But when you look at social media, there's a lot of people that are not quite as well known. and they're getting more views on their channels than mainstream news, you know? And it even happened to me a few times where I would do a story that came out, and I would go to some of the mainstream news channels on YouTube, and they got less views than I had. So you don't even have to be the most well-known person on social media to get that kind of attention to your channels where people are just watching the news from different personalities on social media. And these folks may not have the same kind of notoriety that you would see in mainstream news, but that says a lot. You would think the longer someone has been on mainstream news, they would be more trusted, but when you start looking at the views on social media, that's not the case at all. It might have been once upon a time, when social media was really not out there yet, but now that it is, it's definitely not the same for mainstream news. But y'all, please tell me what you think and let me know if you get your news from social media. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.